Today's lesson is on translations, but now we're going to be working from image back to pre-image. Remember, image is the new one and pre-image is where it started. So you notice at this point A has the prime mark, which means that it is the new point, and we're going to work backwards to find out where it started. So here is the coordinate notation that got it to the point of -7, 2. So when you think about that, it actually moved to the left 4 and up 6. So to undo that, we'd have to move to the right 4 and down 6. So we're going to do the opposite of what the notation says. So you can see here, instead of subtracting 4, I added 4. And instead of adding 6, I subtracted 6. So here's our 7, -7. And here is our 2. So I'm going to say -7 plus 4, and that's -3. And then I'm going to do 2 minus 6, and that is -4. So this point, A, actually started at -3, -4. And if you kind of wanted to check that a little bit, just to make sure you're in the right spot, you could subtract 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then add 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you can see it works. So in order to move backwards, you have to do the notation opposite. So let's just work backwards a little bit. And they're all going to move the same way. So you can see here the original notation was +7 plus 3, which means it moved to the right and up. So we're going to move to the left and down. So you can see here, instead of adding 7, we subtracted 7, and instead of adding 3, we subtract 3. So this W prime right here is at 1, 4. So we took away 7 and then took away 3, so we ended up at -6, 1. So let's come down here and take this 5 to find the x. We're going to say 5 minus 7 and 1 minus 3. So that means x is going to be at -2, -2. And then y, I'm going to say 9 minus 7, 6 minus 3. So my original y was at 2, 3. And then my z, I'm going to take away 7 and then take away 3. So my original z was at -3, 4. So then you can go up and plot them, and you can see that it's going to retain its shape. So I'm going to be at -2, -2. So here's my x. And then I'm going to be at 2, 3. For my y, sorry, 2. There's my y. And then I'm going to be at -3, 4. And there's my z. So when I redraw it, you can see that it's going to be that same shape. So basically you're doing the opposite of what it did to get it to its current position. So here's another one. We've got A, B, C, D that's been moved in this direction. And if you wanted to, I mean, you could just move it on the coordinate plane too. So we subtracted 2 and added 7. So that means to get back, we're going to add 2 and subtract 7. So I can do that just to each point. So let's look at B prime. I'm going to add 2, and then I'm going to subtract 7. So here is my original B. I can do that to each of the points. So C, I'm going to add 2, subtract 7. And here's my C. And then add 2, subtract 7. So there's my D, and then A, add 2, subtract 7. And there's A. It gets a little messy. I think if I erase this stuff, I'm going to erase everything, but I'll give it a shot. There we go. So it looks like my D ended up in a funny place. Let's look here. My D, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That one's right. It doesn't look quite right, does it? Maybe it does. Maybe I'm just overreacting here. There's my, whoops. There's my A. So yeah, I guess it looks the same. So there you go. And here again, find the coordinates. If that was the coordinate notation. So now I'm going to say x minus 3, y plus 5. And it wants you to find the coordinates. So let's just do this. If m is sitting here at -3, -3, we'll just do the math of it. N is at -1, -8. And P is at -6, -6. So let's do it M. I'm going to take -3, and I'm going to subtract 3, and then I'm going to take -3, and I'm going to add 5. And then N prime, I'm going to take -1, subtract 3, and I'm going to take -8 and add 5. And then P prime, I'm going to take -6 and subtract 3 and -6 and add 5. So let's see what we have. M is going to be -6, 2. N is going to be -4, -3. And P is going to be -9, -1. And you can plot them. I'll erase this just to make it a little easier to see. So I have -6, -2, there's my M, -4, -3, oh, I went the wrong way on my M, didn't think that looked right, -6, +2, there's my M, there's my N, and then P is -9, -1, and there's my P. You can see, there it is. These are not connected, they're just a random thing, and so we did -5 plus 7, which means to go backwards, we're going to be doing +5 minus 7. So if I'm at 3 and I add 5, I'm at 8. If I'm at 6 and I take away 7, I'm at -1. If I'm at -5 and I add 5, I'm at 0. And if I take 7 and I take away 7, I'm at 0. If I'm at -1 and I add 5, I'm at 4. And if I take -4 and subtract 7, I'm at -11. And if I'm at 5 and I add 5, I'm at 10. If I'm at -2 and I subtract 7, I'm at -9. So you're just going to work those backwards.